So we are kicking off this month's Ladies of Films interview series with someone who I think is going to be a future icon in this industry. Actor, filmmaker, podcaster, and I have to say it, World Film Geek, Hall of Famer, Julia Marchese. It is a pleasure to finally meet you.
Hello. Yes, we have been Twitter acquaintances for quite some time, and I just want to say off the top how much I appreciate your support for everything that I do, that I see you doing it, and it really means a lot. And you're doing that for a lot of people, and I think helping other people along their way is part of what this is all about. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Like, paying it forward, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for turning out such great content, whether you're acting or you're filmmaking. So, that really
Thank you.
helps as well. So my first question is, where did it all begin? Where did all your love of film begin? Let's start with like how it started.
My parents really like film as well. So they probably watch more movies than I do, which is insane. They like it's every night. So we weren't like that hardcore when I was a kid, but I really enjoyed going to the movies and the thing I liked about it was the kind of communal aspect and getting to watch it with a crowd um having that reaction of the crowd is part of what I love about cinema. But I also became a bit of a VHS fan. You may be able to tell from the wall behind me, which this
Yes.
is real. This is not like a
No, no. Oh, I know
like
that.
your
That is one
background's
of the best.
cool. Yeah,
Thank you. Yes,
thank you.
that's
Yeah, you
that's
can't really
awesome.
see it's like completely rainbow color
I
coordinated.
love
So
it. I absolutely love it. And I remember seeing that in the documentary about VHS, and I remember seeing you in it.
yeah. Yeah,
I,
yeah. I was so excited. So when I started collecting VHS when I was in junior high, then it became a kind of obsession because then I could watch a movie over and over. And Pet Cemetery was the first one that I like became obsessed with, watching it a disturbing amount of times. They should have stepped in at some point and they didn't, which was great. But I started reading Stephen King when I was 11, and I read Pet Cemetery and It and Carrie all kind of back to back. And so that's where before that hadn't really liked, I loved film, but I didn't like horror. And then it became like, oh, I really like horror. So that was something that was from when I was very young. And so Pet Cemetery was really the gateway both to Stephen King and horror for me. So thank you, Stephen King, for having yet again the impact of of him kind of lingers in my life, which is really nice.
yeah, funny enough, that's where my begin. Because it's not for me. It wasn't the cinema. It was one TV in a small apartment with five people in it. So of
Okay.
course we had cable, and then we started getting VHS, and then of course like you, I got obsessed with it, and then finally around my teenage years, I got obsessed with horror. When it's all thanks to a friend of mine, and if he ever watches this, this is for you, Andre, because you're the one who got me into this. He wanted me to
What
record
was the movie? What was the
Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. So of course I watched them in backwards order, and
okay.
then because my mom would never let me watch that movie when I was little, she would never. Yet ironically, she let me watch Class of Nickel Pie when I was 7. So
Okay.
it's like somewhat ironic.
Yeah, sure, sure.
But like your parents, my mom is always like she's always watching movies every day. Every like day I go there, like whenever I'm there, she's always watching a movie. So I totally get where you're coming from, and yeah. So after watching the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I really got into horror as well at the time. And then Stephen King would later enter my life, like a couple years later. So I started reading Christine, It, Carrie, all I started reading them as I'm watching the movie. So I totally know where you're coming from.
Yeah, but how nice is it to now have all of that pay off, right? You say, okay, well, I watched these hundreds of hours of films and read all of these books, but like, look what it's gotten. Like it's kind of, I feel like this film is kind of like a nice reward for all of the years of fandom that I've had. And I go, okay, well, and this is what it culminates in, and all of those because I've read now everything he's written. And so it's like all of those hundreds of hours of reading has led to something where I have a, a very extensive amount of knowledge about this world that he lives in, because Stephen King has this multiverse that doesn't get talked about enough because everything's connected. All things serve
Exactly.
the beam.
Exactly. So aside from Stephen King, what are some of your other favorite horror films, whether it's old or new? I would love to know that.
I mean, I have a podcast, Horror Movie Survival Guide, which is all
Oh,
about horror movies, right? And that
oh
if
yeah.
we have 350 episodes, and so you can go through there and see all the movies that we like. And the I think if you were to ask me to do like top five of like
Yeah,
if I feel like you've and I
yeah. Let's do it.
because
Let's do
I
a current top five. What like right
current
now? What
okay
would you
like
consider
today because it's going to
today?
change.
Let's
Yep,
do today
today.
because yeah, everything changes.
And this is me not worrying about how hardcore you can go as well. I'm just going to rattle them off. So if you can't handle it, sorry. Texas
So
Chainsaw Massacre would be number one. Nightmare on Elm Street, Final Exam, Oculus, and today I'm going to say Terrifier. I'm going to go hard today.
good
Uh, s-
choices. Good choices.
I know, and
Really good choices. Really good
I
choices.
mean I support Damon Leone and David Howard Thornton. We had them on their show and they're so nice.
Oh yeah.
And Damon Leone like does all of his own effects, and it's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, I interviewed both of them too. I interviewed for Terrifier 2 a couple of years back, so I totally
Yeah,
get it.
so
Yeah,
nice.
they're such great guys. All right, so my top five: Texas
Okay.
Chainsaw Massacre,
Okay.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the 2021 remake of Slumber Party Massacre. I
Oh, I
absolutely
haven't
loved it.
seen that one.
I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Number four, another South African movie. It's called Triggered. Loved it. It's
Okay.
like Battle Royale meets Saw with suicide bomb vests. Think
All
of it that
right.
friggin' awesome. Number five, horror movie. I
Oh,
know.
stop.
I'm serious. I swear. I absolutely love. I know what you need. I loved it. Like I have to pick number five. And it's your movie because I absolutely you got me to want to read this. Like as soon as I saw the movie, I'm like, I have to find the story. I gotta read it.
And did you read
And
it?
I found yep. That night I went to Internet Archive and I found
Okay.
the story and I read the whole thing.
And how did the story compare to the film? I
I
mean, well,
like
what?
like despite the small little changes, of course, the ending, the change in the ending. I swear, I think this is one of the most faithful adaptations because you did such a phenomenal job on it. And I like
Well,
the fact that you got to shoot at the University of Maine too, the alma mater and everything. I think that's what made it more authentic.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of the dialogue is word for word as much as I possibly could in there. Um, and the changes in the end, and we're gonna go ahead and spoil this. So if you haven't read the story, or
Yeah,
you can pause. The change in the end was only because in the story, when you get to the closet, he has voodoo dolls and he has the Necronomicon. And in the 1976, the Necronomicon is like an obscure Lovecraft reference, but now it's an Evil Dead reference. I'm like, I can't put it in there. People are going to be like, what? Evil Dead? Like, it's going to be very strange.
yeah,
So, like, I had to pivot a bit. So, and voodoo seemed to me. So, I went for the push ability that Andy McGee has in Firestarter, which is why you see the nosebleeds. And so I feel like that kind of mental manipulation works exactly the same. So I think it was kind of cool to alter it in a Stephen King way.
yeah. And it was only a matter of time before you were. I know I've known you for we know each other for a while, and you're always obsessed with Stephen King. So I was like, I knew it was gonna be a matter of time before she does a Stephen King adaptation
Yeah,
somewhere
you can't
somehow.
see behind my microphone, but I have my Stephen King Dark Tower pendant
There
that
you
I wear
go.
every day. So it's
Yep,
hardcore.
awesome. And then also, you were in the documentary King on Screen. We get to see, of course, for a
Yeah.
second. And we mentioned I was talking with Daphne, the director. We actually talked
Uh-huh.
about you. We actually
You
talked about
did?
you in our interview. We're all like, yeah, like Julia's got this movie. She's doing a Stephen King movie, and she was telling me how nice you were and how friendly you were. And the scene you were in was I loved it. You just like jumping from the audience, like
Well, we can return the favor, and I can say how amazing Daphne is and Sebastian. And they were really cool because so the scene that I'm in is not, I'm not an interview, but they were doing these. It was like supposed to be like in the Running Man. If the Running Man was real, there's an audience for the Running Man. So they had us there, and they're like, cheer for your Running Man. And I was like, yes, this is amazing. So it was very, very cool. But I got to go to the premiere of that in LA, or a screening of it in LA anyway. And like Mick Garris and Denise Crosby and a bunch of Dee Wallace, a bunch of folks were there, which was really neat. And so I think if you haven't seen the documentary, it's about people who have adapted Stephen King movies,
yeah.
stories.
And I highly recommend it. Everyone needs to check that one out. It's a fantastic movie.
Hmm.
And it's another documentary that I think everyone needs to see is the one you did, Out of Print. I mean, that movie really, like, I first heard of it. I'm like, all right, if I knew what it was about, I was like, I gotta watch it right away. And it was after I saw the credits, like, when I seen the credits, oh, I know the director of this movie. Awesome. I'm like, yes. I'm like, all right. Then I watched it. I was like, holy, I love it. Like, this is exactly what I'm meant to watch, these type of documentaries, because I'm actually a film studies major. I actually got my degree in film studies, so that's where all
Yes.
this applies now. So it really helps me out in a way.
Yeah, I did film and drama at school as well. And thank you. My documentary is about the importance of revival cinema and 35 millimeter to culture, and it's on Amazon Prime. And then the crazy thing I had, so the movie's, the importance of 35, and that this was done right when it was changing over from 35 to digital, and 35 millimeter prints weren't going to be really made anymore. And so we did a shot in the film that's half digital, half 35, so you can see the difference. And so we shot some in 35. So I have one 35 millimeter print of out of print. I have one. And I was like, oh my God, it's just sitting in my hot apartment. Like, this is not good for this film. So I called the Academy and I was like, hey, can you store, you guys take this movie? And they said, yeah. So they took it in and they store it. So it's at the Academy and it will like live forever there in case. And I was like, but I mean, like, immortality is part of why you do filmmaking, right? And you're like, oh, there you go. I'm like, I don't have to worry. I can die happy and be like, oh, it's in there. I'm good.
There you go. And also, you've done a bit of acting, and we've talked about this, but one of your first movies was a little horror film called Delta Delta Die.
Yeah,
And
Delta Delta Die.
what was the experience like making that movie?
Amazing. I was so because when I moved to LA, I was like, I'm going to be a scream queen. Like that's the goal, right? And so this movie, it was you working with Full Moon, so that's the whole thing. You have Julie Strain on set, you have Brink Stevens, you got Tiffany Shepis, who is amazing, and I and uh so I was excited because my part was a flashback. I was supposed to be Brink Stevens in flashback, and I got to wear all 80s clothes. And so all the clothes are like everyone's wearing my clothes in those scenes. And so I was like, oh, I get to be the 80s. And I like brought my tab into the scene. And I got to get covered in a bucket of blood, which was the most amazing thing. I was so happy about that. And when I was doing the scene, I asked the director, like, do you want me to be disgusted by this or you want to be happy? And he's like, oh, be happy. And I was like, this is easy. Like, I'm really this happy. It was like a sticky mess, but I was like, there you go. My life goal is complete.
That's awesome. And you've done a couple other acting jobs as well. I remember this that
Oh yeah.
December you had a small role in that. And
With Tiffany Shepis, who is
yeah,
also in that,
exactly. So
right?
there you
So
go.
my
So there you go.
yeah, directed by Banco Verratti is very cool. Yes, I'm an actor as well as and this is hard because I'm an actor, I'm a writer, I'm a director, I'm a podcaster, I'm, a cinephile, I'm like all of these things. And I think
So
that's kind of what people are now. I feel like it's more common to have people going across a bunch of different mediums than to have somebody like just in one.
yeah, exactly. And you also sang too. I remember
I
the
did.
song.
Oh my God. So my friend Shannon and Ben have a band, Lovers and Poets. They're really awesome. And I had always secretly had like secretly, I was like, I would love to everybody wants to be like a rock star for a day. And so there's a song from the Live to Live and Die in LA soundtrack by Wang Chung called To Live and Die in LA. And we covered the song and we did a photo show or like a music video out here in LA. And we tried to go to a bunch of the different locations that they use in the movie. And we got to release a single. I got to release a single.
And just
I'm
for the
still like
record,
you can tell by my reaction, like I'm still kind of reeling from it. It still seems kind of unreal, but I'm very
yeah,
proud
and
and they're so amazing.
just for the record, I absolutely love your voice in the song.
Thank
So
you. It's so hard to listen to your own voice. You know how that is, right? Like you
I
listen to
used
it
to be
back
in a
and like,
band. I
ugh.
know. I used to be in a rock band. Like I heard myself singing. I'm like, I can't sing for nothing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's kind of how it feels. I'm like, but everyone's like, oh, it sounds good. Most people say they can't tell it's me. Even my parents were like, I can't tell that's you. And I'm like, okay.
I can kind of tell. But next question. Horror movie survival guide and
Hmm.
350 episodes. Awesome. I listen to it every week.
Thank
It's kind
you.
of my go-to on Monday. Like that's how I start my week. As soon as I see the notification, I'm like, as soon as you horror movie survival guide, I'm like, all right, let's see what they're covering this week.
Thank you.
When did this all like? When did you start? How did you come up with the idea for this?
Okay, this is a big question. This is going to go back pretty far in my life. So when I was in college, my best friend Marion and I were living together we went to UC Irvine. And so we were living in an apartment together. And we decided our goal for our senior year of college was to watch every horror movie in the horror movie section of the local video store. called Gold Star Video. And so there was like 275 videos, which we did. And the first movie I watched, Marion, when I met her, had never seen a horror movie at all. So the first one I showed her was Nightmare on Elm Street, and she really liked it. And the thing that she liked about it was the final girl aspect, right? That Nancy's going to do this by herself. And so she's like, "Is this a thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, this is the whole like movie thing." So we kept this notebook of all the movies that we watched, and it was very nerdy. And it was like the synopsis and our favorite quotes. And we had a rating system, which is chainsaws and like gore factor. And so my other best friend, Terry, who I had met in England when I lived there my junior year of college, she was working for a company that was looking for a horror podcast. And she was like, I know just the people. So she brought Marion and I in. And so Marion and I did the first 75 episodes, I think, together. And I think almost all of those were taken from the notebook themselves. And then Marion stepped out, Terry stepped in, and she's been there for, a very long time. And Terry also had never seen a horror movie before. And so I showed her Hellraiser, and I was a little bit nervous that I had gone too far because Hellraiser's pretty far.
Yeah.
And I forgot Terry, and she says this on the show, so I'm not outing her or anything. Terry's type is creepy uncles. And so when Uncle Frank opened the door and Terry was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Oh my God, he's a creepy uncle." I'd never even thought about it, but he totally is. And so from then on, she was in. And so I was like, okay, here we go. And so now she's become a super gore hound and like watches horror movies all the time and loves it. So I corrupt my friends
Done it.
and we
Done
get a
it.
podcast out of it. And I'm so delighted that people enjoy listening to us because we would talk about this movie in that manner anyway. Like we're best friends chatting all the time. So it's very nice that people want to listen in on our conversations.
Yeah, it's like eavesdropping in a way, but but it's worth it because then
Yeah.
it's like at times I'm like, man, I got so much to say. I gotta get in. That's
I
what
know,
gets me
but
engaged. It's like, oh
but now we have now I have three podcasts, right? I have Horror
yeah,
Movie Survival Guide. I'm on the Losers Club podcast,
oh,
which is all about Stephen King. So you can obviously hear me talk
oh,
about that. And the cool thing about that one is, so as I said, I read it when I was 11 and desperately wanted to be a part of the Losers Club, right? Which I think everybody does when they read that book. And so now I am actually a part of the Losers Club because I'm on the Losers Club podcast. And I was like, fictional dreams I thought could never happen had been achieved. And then my third podcast is called JodoWOWsky, which is all about the works of Alejandro Jodorowsky, who was filmmaker, comics, mime, songwriter, writer, tarot card guru, and all around amazing man
that's awesome.
who
See,
just
you're
celebrated his 95th birthday and is still making movies, I'd like to point out.
that's awesome. That's great. You keep going.
Fucking
He said keep
cool.
going to he said going till the day he dies. Like
Yeah.
hands down.
Yeah, he
This is should.
I don't think he'll ever die. If there was anybody in the world who was like who's going to be immortal, like it's Jodorowsky.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah, exactly. See, you with horror movies is me with martial arts flicks. Like I grew
Oh,
up
okay.
watching. See, I grew up watching Bruce Lee, and then I watched more and more and more. So
Okay.
once I got into the horror genre, it was either I'm watching horror or I'm watching martial arts movies. And then of
Okay.
course, and then before I started World Film Geek, I did an 8 year stint at the now defunct KungFuCinema.com. So I wrote for
Oh,
them.
that's awesome. Yeah, that's actually I don't have that's kind of a blank spot in my horror in my genres. Like I love them, but I have never delved deep into them. Right. I've seen the basics, right? The Michelle Yeohs and the Jackie Chans and the,
Yeah.
Sammo Hung and that kind of stuff. But I've never like dived in and you can, I'm sure, dive real deep.
Oh yeah, I can dive deep. Not just Hong Kong stuff. I even watch like a bunch of the American stuff, like the Van Dams,
Okay.
even the B movies that you would find probably next to the horror section in the video store back in the day, like all the really cheapo ones, like Roger Corman
Jim
would produce.
Cotta and stuff like that.
Yeah, like Jim Cotta, Blood Fist, and then of course there's a movie that we both like, a little movie called Rad. Like
Oh,
we talked about.
rad. I love rad. Part of the reason I love rad is because my brother did BMX when I was growing up, and and my brother's the coolest, and he had the soundtrack for rad, which I hadn't seen, but I used to listen to the soundtrack all the time. So then when I really got to see the movie for the first time, I was really excited. So I have it's up here. It's blue. It's somewhere. Rad. I have it on VHS, and it wasn't available on other media for a very long time.
Yeah, I finally
It
got the Blu-ray. Well, yeah, once the Blu-ray came out, I swapped it. I'm like,
Oh,
boom,
I'm
getting it.
sure. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I was like, I
And
have to.
the soundtrack cassette, the thing I love about physical media, the soundtrack cassette for Rad that my brother had that he bought in 1986 or whatever the movie came out. I used to listen to all the time. I'm like, that's amazing. That's like the same little thing. And I'm like, okay, just play it now. And it's great. And it's a really great soundtrack. I don't know if you've seen Edgar Wright's Sparks Brothers documentary, but you should. It's awesome. And I didn't think I knew the Sparks Brothers, but then they have a song on the Rad
Yeah,
soundtrack, and I was like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah. It was
they
during the
do.
dance
I do
sequence.
know who they are. Okay,
Yeah, it's during the dance sequence with
and
you see
I like that they
Bart Connor and the Hayes brothers before they did The Conjuring.
be-
All
before the yeah, and
before they start before they
the
start us for
actual.
life.
Yeah, well, before the amazing dance. But I like that in the documentary they make sure to let you know that because the song sounds like such a fuck you to the music industry, and then they're
Yeah,
like, no, it's serious. Like that's just how we feel. I'm like, interesting. Okay.
yeah, that movie's awesome. I mean,
I
and
mean,
like your brother, my brother got me into that movie. He got me in because he was doing BMX at the time, and it
amazing.
actually inspired me to get a bike that year. I actually got a BMX bike like a couple of years later. So I was like, I want to pretend I'm going downhill track and everything.
Ass sliding.
Yeah, exactly. Like, granted, we're practically the same age, so you can see where I'm coming from here.
Do you know I have a pair of rad Vans? When there was this in Little Tokyo here in LA, there was this used to be this shoe store that had the most. I also got this. So I went in one day and they had just three different kinds of rad Vans. And so they look like the normal like slip-ons, but they were black, and then they had the rad logo all the way around the bottom.
Oh
Fucking
snap!
amazing. I also walked in that store once and they had Fritz the Cat Vans, and I was like, what the fuck, man? This is like heaven. It's just these like really random, amazing things. I thought I would never see those things.
Note to self: go to LA as soon as possible.
It's not there anymore. It's
No,
gone.
but still, go to LA as soon as possible because all
That
the
true.
cool stuff is there.
Well, a lot of cool stuff is here. If you want to be in movies, this place to be.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So aside from let's see, we talked about horror films, we talked about VHS or Mutual World VHS. I love your collection because mine's just a bedroom closet right now, but I'm eventually gonna have
Okay.
to organize all those. But a couple of years ago, our local library started selling VHS tapes for like for a buck. So I grabbed up as many
Amazing.
as
See, this is
I
how
have
you
to.
do it.
Yeah,
Um,
and the best way to
oh,
do.
it's aesthetically pleasing, is it not?
Yeah, it is. And like I said, like you, I love physical media. Like I can't live. I mean, I think I have almost all the formats now too. I even have video CD from Hong Kong for some of their movies. So it's just like,
My sound designer John Shell, hi John, I've for I Know What You Need made me a VHS copy of I Know What You Need and like made the cover for it. It looks amazing. You pull it out, it's got like a Be Kind Rewind sticker on there. He put trailers of other after school specials before it and everything. It's pretty fucking awesome.
don't just love that VHS is somewhat making a comeback because
Yeah.
not just that, you're seeing all these ones for like other films like recent films. I remember when Slumber Party Master came out, the remake, they had
Yeah.
someone came out with a limited edition VHS of it
I
that had
just bought I just bought the VHS for Suitable Flesh for Joe Lynch's new movie, which is incredible. If you haven't seen it, an amazing homage to Stuart Gordon, and they
yeah, I'm planning to
released
see it.
yeah, it's really great, and they released a VHS copy, so I bought it, and it's winging its way to me as we speak.
Nice. Oh my gosh. See, I'm envying you right now, like hands down, because you got all the cool stuff going on.
I mean, if there's one thing you can say about Julia Marquez is that I do have a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Like that, you're amazing, hands down. You just totally
Thank you.
rock.
Thank you.
So, is there any other films that you want to start doing or start working on? Like you can come off the top of your head, like have an idea for a film, or you know, because you did. I know what you need. I know it's an
Right.
adaptation. But do you have any like original ideas that you would love to turn out eventually?
Yeah, for sure. So I Know What You Need is still doing its festival run and will be for the rest of 2024. But it's done very well and it's won a bunch of awards, and I'm very thankful that people are enjoying my work. And the thing about filmmaking is it's you make a movie and then you go, how do I make the next movie? I don't know. Like there's not unless you're like a big time director who's going to automatically have a next project. A lot of what filmmaking is trying to hustle the financial end. And like
Yeah.
that's the part of it that I'm like, ugh. So if anybody wants to help, like but like I crowdfunded both of my films and I did it successfully and I'm very grateful, but it's also I don't want to just keep asking people for money like that. I feel like there's got to be, and I probably will again, so I will probably regret that statement. But right now, that's how I feel. I feel like I would have to give people a break at least before I started fundraising again. So I'm trying to see, but yes, I have 3 ideas that are knocking around right now.
That's awesome. I know.
Four.
I mean, I want to start screenwriting. I got a couple. Actually, I'm working on one script right now. Something I came up with like 20 years ago. Now I'm like deciding, yeah, I'm going to turn this. Like it's time I got this one off the ground and see if I can get my first
Yeah.
screenplay out there. And you never know. I mean, people are like, you got people out there who will support you. You know, they're willing to go. You know, do it. Write the screenplay. Do it. You know,
Sure.
some
And
great ideas.
I think something we don't talk about enough is just that if you don't ask for help, you probably won't get it because people don't know you need something until you ask for what you need, right? They say like you get in life what you have the courage to ask for. And like for I know what you need. Like I just emailed Stephen King's folks and they sent me a contract. And then I emailed the University of Maine and they sent me sure. And like it was just cold emails. It wasn't, I didn't do anything magically, right? And I feel like that's something if you just ask, the worst that they can say is no, or just ghost you, you know.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I did. That's what I did with you basically. I'm like, so like maybe I should ask Julia this time. Maybe she should join this year. Because last year I
Well,
did, yeah, no, here we are. And because last year I did some pretty cool interviews. I did it. Like some of them contacted me and said, "Oh, I'd love to do an interview with you." And other, or the one I did, a cold one, and I was even surprised I got that one. And that's all the way from South Africa. But you know, it
hey,
happens.
see, you ask and you get sometimes. But
Yeah,
here you are. You asked, you got, and this is this present
this
moment.
here we are. After so many years, like on social media, it's just like we finally meet
I
face to face.
know. Are there any questions that you have about the I know what you need?
Yeah, actually, I would love to hear what was it like working? Because I know this was around, I think you shot it around the time during a little bit during the pandemic in some ways. So I know it must have been kind of rough at times to get everything out. But how long did production take on that? And were there any challenges that you faced during shooting?
We filmed in the summer of 2021, and it actually was fine because so we shot at the campus, the University of Maine, where the story takes place, and it was summer at on campus, so there was no students, and so we were in a dorm entirely by ourselves. We had the whole dorm to ourselves, and that's the dorm that Stephen King lived in. So I got to sleep in his room when I was there, and so there was 22 of us all together sleeping in the dorm, and so there was no we were just like in a little bubble, right? Like we weren't really going anywhere else. So it didn't really feel like it wasn't it was fine. So the shoot went great. I was nervous wreck for the 6 months leading up to it about all the things that could possibly go wrong, and then pretty much nothing went wrong. The only thing that went wrong was one day we were supposed to shoot a picnic outside, and it rained the night before, so it was muddy, and so we had to move inside. So we were trying to find a classroom, but the classroom couldn't have anything modern because the movie's taking place in 1976. So we can't have whiteboards, we can't have computers, we can't have projectors. And so there's the scene in the big lecture hall that they're in, and there's only a chalkboard that goes up and down. So we were able to find something and it went fine. And like I think the scene goes great in that room, but it was just like a last minute like adjustment.
Wow. I mean, I love when I hear that the shoots go rather smoothly than like you
It was
constantly hear about the issues. Like I, you're like this is the heart of indie filmmaking, and I think I think that there needs to be more this type of stuff out there.
well, I think, it's nice because a lot of people say that a lot of people who know me or like this film is you, right? Like it's you mixed with Stephen King. And a lot of people, when they say out of print, say the same thing, like, oh, it feels like you. And I feel like that's the best thing you can ask for as a filmmaker. Because I think that the filmmakers I really like are the ones that are very distinctive. And I go, okay, that's a Wes Anderson movie. And like I can tell immediately. And like that kind of stuff makes me very happy. And I like distinctive aesthetics. And so there were sects that I was trying to mimic in mine, which I think was fun because we got to, try to do. I wanted it to look, not like I was trying to make it vintage. I wanted to look like it actually came from the 70s. And like, so we were very hardworking about trying to make it look perfect. I wanted to make sure there was a lot of edits and montages that reflected the style of the time. And then I wanted to get really Brian De Palma at the end of it. So I was like, okay, let's go split screens, let's go crazy lighting, let's, have fun with it. And so that was always in my head. The description of it was an after school special meets Brian De Palma. And I was like, I hope that's what people got from it, because that's what I was aiming for. And I feel like it's a very unusual way to adapt Stephen King. I feel like most people probably wouldn't think that that would work, but I feel like for this particular story, I feel like it kind of does.
Yeah, it did. And you probably read my review of it when I posted it. And
I did.
hands down, I was like, this is one of the best ones out there. Like I was like, I keep every time it comes up, I'm like, you all need to see this movie. Like you gotta see I Know What You Need. I'm like, is it that good? I'm like, it's that good. Like
Thank you.
she brought the nostalgia on. She like totally in this movie. You're gonna if you love the old school stuff, this is one you gotta check out.
Thank you. And I'm not allowed to put it online publicly because of contract restrictions. But if you do want to see it, just message me. I'm on Julia C. Marchese on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and I will gladly send it to you.
There you go. So remember that, guys. If you want to check out this movie, just contact her directly. She will get it out to you because I'm telling you guys, this is a freaking amazing movie. And
Well, thank
you
you. I
also
mean,
need to, yeah, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
So yeah, also not just that, check out you also got to check out her documentary. It's on Amazon Prime right now, out of print.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And now I've forgotten what I was going to say, so we can, we can go
Yeah, she'll
ahead.
let you go first.
That's okay.
But yeah,
Um,
definitely check those out. Go ahead.
no, I got it. I got it. Sorry. Last blank. That's always fun.
But I'm telling you guys, she's awesome. I think she's gonna be a future icon in cinema. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart because she really
Thank
knows
you.
her stuff.
Well, if you want someone who will do it with passion, I am the one, and I have a pretty cool calling card with this film to show what I can do. So I feel very proud of the film, and I'm glad you enjoyed it.
That's awesome. Well, everyone, check out if you get a chance, check out I Know What You Need. Go to Amazon Prime and check out Out of Print. You can even see Julia right now in Delta Delta Die. I believe it's on Tubi as of right now. So you're gonna want to
Yes.
see her in Scream Queen mode because she's fantastic in that movie too. I mean,
Thank you.
the guys, I don't know what she cannot do. And at this point, it doesn't matter what she cannot do because she is awesome. So that's all I'm gonna say about it.
Many, many thanks. Many thanks.
Well, everyone, check out WorldFilmGeek.com for the latest interviews, reviews, and features. And we'll check out more of Ladies of Films. We'll try to get more interviews this month. And until then, you all take care and you have a good day.